Dave knows how.
Okay, so we decided to take the dog plate from the lathe. Generally, this is a dog plate, face plate, whatever you're going to call it. You can bolt stuff to this. You can put a dog on it with a center and center stuff and run it like that. We're going to use it as a flat plate, and we're going to bolt it to these plates. And so that we can chuck them up on the lathe and make them work. So we got some 1.5 inch long, 5/16, 18 screws, bolts. I'm going to stack all these together and just put them right on there. Just like that. Okay, and then we're going to take this and put it on there. Throw a flat washer on there. Each one of these. And nut. And of course, you know, we've got to get this thing somewhat centered. So we may have to loosen this back up. Because we got to get it centered on this plate so that it turns, and as it's turning, this center hole is centered, and these 4 holes are centered, and everything is running true together. Additionally, the lathe that we're going to put this on is the small Craftsman Atlas, which only has a 12-inch swing. And the diagonal measurement of this thing is quite a bit more than 12 inches. So from corner to corner, we're looking at a little over 14 inches. Across here, we're at 10 inches. Now, I came up with this 10-inch measurement. I had these plates cut 10 inch by 10 inch. And the way I came up with this measurement, I measured the clutch pack on the bush hog, and I can't remember exactly what it measured, but it seemed like to me it was something like 8 inches. And so I allowed 1 inch on each side because we're going to bore a hole in here to fasten another piece of metal to this piece of metal. So I need to allow at least 1 inch on each side. So if memory serves me correctly, that thing is 8 inches. That clutch pack is 8 inches in diameter, maybe a little more or a little less. So I had these cut 10 inches. The 10-inch part will swing fine on the lathe, but these corners are a little bit long. So these corners are like 14 inches. That's not going to swing on a 12-inch lathe. Woo! That is a whole lot of grinding going on. And that puppy is hot too. Not gonna be moving that yet. Gotta let it cool down a little bit. But we got the corners nipped off. Kind of almost got a stop sign shape going here. Okay, so we've got the back plate screwed up onto the spindle of the lathe, and what we're going to do, we put this live center on here. Okay, the live center turns. We've got it going into the hole that we got in the center. We're going to go around and loosen up all of these if we can, just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to run this center in, rotate this, tighten up on the center, rotate, tighten. Now that thing should be centered pretty good now. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten these. Down pretty good. It's going to be a little difficult to cut this thing, but we're going to give it a go and see how it goes. You need to slow this thing down. Let's see. Get it going kind of slow. And this is going to be a super slow process. It's not something that's going to happen in 5 minutes. So I'm probably either going to speed it up or skip this part altogether. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we got to go through to get this turned how we need it. Welcome back. So we've been over and we've test fit the round plate on the gearbox, and we know that these 4 holes line up good. Now we need to get 2 cross holes on there, so we're going to use this device. It's a center finding device. This is a very inexpensive one, came from Harbor Freight. We're going to line it up against the circular piece, and then we're going to take this scale, or 6-inch scale, and where this line that's scribed up here intersects with the edge of this circle, this hole, and this line intersects with this circular hole, we're going to measure, putting this square against here, and measure up and see what that measurement is. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to measure right over here to the same place, and then we will rotate this accordingly to get it to be reading the same. Okay, and then once it's reading the same, then we're going to take air scribe, which I left in the shed in there, and we're going to scribe a line straight down across here. I've already put the scribe line on there. Now that the line's on there, we can go ahead and we can check it again and just pull right off the line that we scribed up and check right where that thing hits that hole. Same thing over here. And as you can see, they measure relatively the same. So that's going to give us our straight across right here, which is going to create a center between this edge and this edge. We'll call this the top edge. This is the bottom edge. And so that thing is going to be mounted on the gearbox. This being the top, this being the bottom. We're going to bore 2 holes over here, but we've got to locate them holes. So let's look at the part that's going to screw on here, and that's this piece right here. Now, this piece right here is the same gauge thickness metal as the base plate, the mounting plate. And I had them, they've got a roller machine that will roll this into a circle. And I had them roll it to a specific diameter, and I don't think they quite hit the mark. I can't remember. I want to say I must have been shooting, I thought I was shooting for 10-inch diameter on this as well as the plate, but I may have been shooting for 9 because this measures a little over 9 this way and a little under 9 this way. So I must have been shooting for 9 inches. Anyway, they did not weld it. I welded the seam. They just bent it around. And my welding's not the greatest in the world, but for this application, you know, it's going to be fine. And it's a little out of round. It's not exactly round, but for this application, I think we're going to be fine. So we want this seam to be on the bottom, and so it's basically going to mount just like this with this seam on the bottom. So we're going to take our black Sharpie and we're going to paint this edge and paint this edge, and then we're going to set this back up here right across here, and this is basically giving us a center line right here between here and here again, and we can rotate this around and change where the center line is. We want this to be the bottom, so we can eyeball this thing, and that should be good enough. And we can check and see how close it is. That looks 4, 5, 4, 4. So it's a little bit off center. We're pretty good with center right here where we're at. So we're going to scribe right through that Sharpie mark here and here. And that is our center marks. Now we took a couple of 5/16 18 bolts that were somewhat long, cut the head off. We're going to line this up with that mark and clamp it, and we're going to make sure that it's square, standing straight up like that. and then we're going to weld it in place. One here, one on this side. And of course, we're going to grind this in here to clean it up before we weld it. And we'll probably do something to knock this finish off of this bolt so that we're not welding through that. And we're going to TIG weld it in place. The TIG welder. So that's a game plan. I'll go in here and get one that we've already finished and show you how that part turns out. So here's one that we've already welded together, and like I said, I'm not the best welder in the world, so just gotta bear with my get by with welding. This fits down on there like that. And we're gonna get some nuts, probably get some wing nuts to screw down on here. And that's what's gonna hold this on. Just like that. So I think that's going to be a pretty nice fit. Like I said, we're going to have the seam at the bottom of the gearbox. It's going to mount up on the gearbox just like that with the weld seam at the bottom. And then we'll be able to undo these like that and pull this front right off the gearbox and get to everything underneath it. So that's the plan. We're going to go in here now and go ahead and weld these studs on this one, and there's I think another one in there. I'm going to weld studs on that. And once we welded the studs on there, we'll come back and we'll show you how we got this layout for these two bolt holes right here. It's looking good.
Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.